Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. Come a little closer. Allow me to introduce myself to you. I'm the ghost of John G. Howard, Ranger of High Park. I used to own the place. I like to think of myself as the resident spirit around here. Let me get rid of this. That's better. Tonight I'm going to take you on a tour of my former estate, High Park, and its surrounding neighborhoods. So, if you're ready, let's go. When people think of High Park, they think of squirrels, ducks, trees and flowers. But High Park is more than that. It's a vibrant community with a unique flavor all its own. It's such an interesting neighborhood with great shopping, and the people are so friendly. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Before we get into that, I'll take you back to the beginning. 1832, and my wife and I set sail from England to Upper Canada. I was an architect, designer, and avid painter. My wife Jemima was a frail girl of noble stock. When we arrived in York, we found a bustling center of commerce and social activity. Times were tough in the beginning, but I continued to paint. I painted everything from the majestic wilderness that surrounded me to the day-to-day happenings along the town's waterfront. A chance meeting with the Lieutenant Governor, Sir John Colborne, led to my appointment as drawing master at Upper Canada College in 1833. My first real job at last. The contacts I made at the college allowed my career as an architect and designer to flourish. I became very successful. In 1834, I laid the first sidewalks for the newly formed city of Toronto. In 1835, I purchased 165 acres 2 miles west of the city. I called it High Park. There I designed and built a home which I named Colborne Lodge after my first benefactor, Sir John Colborne. We lived there happily for over 35 years. But in 1873, at the age of 70, having no legal heirs, I decided to deed 145 acres of my land to the city for use as a public park, and at my death, the remaining 25 acres and Colborne Lodge. I was named Ranger of High Park as recognition for my gift to the city of Toronto. 4 years later, Jemima died, and I built this monument to her memory. 13 years later, I passed away and was buried beside my darling wife. This is the home which I designed and built, Colborne Lodge. It has been painstakingly restored back to what it was like when I lived there. As if I ever left the place. Its 3 chimneys stand out so proudly against the sky. The lodge is a classic Regency-style cottage with some of my own special additions. Nice design, if I do say so myself. It started out as our summer home, but Jemima and I loved it there so much that in 1837 we moved in permanently. At the rear of the lodge is my coach house and gallery, where my touring coaches and paintings are on display. Why don't you go inside and look around?
Hello, would you like to come inside?
This is Sharon Thorpe. She runs the place.
This was the home of John and Jemima Howard. They came from England in 1832.
You've already heard all this. Let me show you around. This is Jemima's sewing room. The house is furnished with most of my original 1830s furniture. I I've had many a good meal and fine conversation in this dining room. And boy, do I love that four-poster bed. It's so comfy. This is one architectural feature I'm quite proud of. Toronto's first indoor bathroom and shower. I designed it myself. Colborne Lodge is just one of the interesting things about High Park. Another is its beautiful flower gardens. Let's go down to the greenhouses to see where it all starts. It's my favorite way of getting around. Tally-ho! Today, the park has been enlarged from my original 165 acres to over 400 acres of nature trails, playgrounds, swimming pools, and tennis courts. And take it from me, it's also a great place to ride your bike. These are the High Park greenhouses. They're off limits to the public. But in your case, we'll make an exception. The greenhouses in High Park are an important part of Toronto's park system. Did you know that they grow over 1 million annuals here yearly? And they not only supply all the flowers for High Park's beautiful gardens, but for most of Toronto's other parks as well. They grow plants for municipal buildings, fresh flowers for City Hall, floral displays for the C&E, you name it. It's all grown at the High Park greenhouses. This is my favorite spot in the park, Grenadier Pond. Grenadier Pond will always have a special place in my heart. This is how it looked when I first painted it in 1837. Even today, the pond is a haven for waterfowl. It's a bird watcher's paradise. There's mallard, scoop-bills, ring-necked ducks, Canada geese, and this year, the pond is host to a family of blue heron. Many beautiful homes border the pond on the west in an area known as Swansea. One of my neighbors is Rod and Gail Shirkin with their little son, Adam. It's an interesting story how they found their house.
We used to live across the pond on the other side for about 7 years in Parkdale, and we'd go for regular walks just down on the road over there across the pond, and we'd always look up the hill and say one day we're going to live up on the hill, but it was really it was more of a wish than a statement. And we used to drive quite regularly through the neighborhood looking for sale signs, occasionally find one and then check on the price and, you know, decide that we'll better walk a little bit longer. And one day Gail said, geez, there's a house across the street there. There's no for sale sign on it, but it looked a bit like the House of Usher. The paint was all peeling and the grass hadn't been cut in 20 years. So Gail said, go knock on the door. And I said, don't be silly. She says, come on, go knock on the door. So I did and asked the lady if she wanted to sell the house. And she informed us that actually the owner had died and that the estate was still to be settled. And to make a long story short, we made an offer to the estate and it was accepted. And we bought the house. In fact, when we bought the house, Gail had seen it for 10 minutes, and I'd never seen it. But because of the location, we probably would have bought a tent, so it really didn't matter much.
Rod and I love living beside High Park. It has to be one of the most picturesque parks in the whole city. There's beautiful landscaping almost everywhere you look. My favorite spot is the Japanese walkway. It's so peaceful there. We've been bringing Adam over here since he was 6 months old. He likes coming to the park a lot. We visit the playground, go for walks, and get popcorn from the popcorn man. There's so much to do here. I think Adam's favorite place in the park has to be the zoo. He likes to look at all the different birds and animals they have here.
You give him some bread we got? Oh, look at this.
Oh, there he comes. Little baby one.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a fairly new one, isn't it?
Adam likes it when we bring some bread along, so he can feed them.
Get happy. Get happy.
Now they're getting happy. New Happy Cat from Purina, the new moist and meaty tasting cat food. Happy Cat stays fresh and meaty tasting in the bowl, so cats can come back for more all day.
Get happy.
New Happy Cat cat food. Its delicious meaty taste makes cats happy all day.
My diamond? Van Ryck Jewelers, of course. Joe and I wanted something special, and Mr. Van Ryck is probably the only craftsman in town cutting diamonds right in his own store. So I know my diamond is, like it was made especially for me. And Van Ryck's custom-crafted diamonds are about half downtown prices because he cuts them himself. No middleman. It's like getting twice the diamond for the money, Mila.
My Christmas shopping problems are over. It's the Bay's Great Canadian Sweater Sale.
Price could be a problem.
Only $19.99 for a Helen Harper or Paris Star shaker knit. Regular $32 at 37% saving.
Problem solved.
Is that all it costs at the Bay?
Canadian-made shaker knits in 15 colors, just $19.99. Great gifts.
It's on backwards.
Is that all it costs when you shop at the Bay?
That's all.
Hey, you say you're getting tired of lettuce and tomato hamburgers that don't quite make it?
Yeah!
Then look at McDonald's new McDLT. I'm talking quarter pound of beef on the hot side. The new McDLT. Crisp lettuce and tomato on the cool side. The new McDLT.
Cool crisp.
The beef stays hot, the cool stays crisp. Put it together, you can't resist. Could be the best lettuce and tomato hamburger ever.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's new McDLT.
We've seen the neighborhood to the west of High Park. Now let's go to the east. The boundaries of the neighborhood known as High Park are Dundas Street on the north, Lake Ontario on the south, the park on the west, and Roncesvalles Avenue on the east. For the most part, it's a quiet, family-type neighborhood, lined with beautiful homes and mature trees. It's a neighborhood where kids still play that age-old Canadian game, road hockey, and dream of one day starring in the NHL. The main commercial strip is Roncesvalles Avenue. My old friends, Nick and Elizabeth Mazepa, have lived and shopped in the area for over 40 years.
Well, we come here often. This is quite a street, quite a shopping area. It's nice to take a walk here and just see the variety of stores that they have. Delicatessens, there's European, Canadian foods, and, well, pierogies, cabbage rolls, and name it. This is like a farmer's market here. You have everything here, all vegetables, everything nice and fresh, and the prices are reasonable. When you go to delicatessen, your mind kind of gets boggled, the smell of the nice smoked meats. And, well, you pick what you want. That's your choice, eh? Then they have different breads, cake stores. There's everything along this street. It's a very nice area to shop. People are friendly, and, well, what more can I say, eh? Come on over.
Roncesvalles is a street filled with unique specialty shops. You can get everything here, from sandals to kids' books. Take, for instance, the Old Country Store. It's been run by the same family for over 28 years. and they have some very interesting European specialty items. Today, the store is operated by two sisters, Helga Shuklowicz and Karen Smith.
You're looking for nice
But why don't I let Helga show you around?
We have a beautiful selection now. If you want something real different, we have a nice boot. Now, the soccer players, they used to have it back home. If they lost or they didn't lose, they've been drinking that full. But you had to, everybody has a little zip. You go around, you have a little zip and that. This would be unusual. It's a collector item because beer stands you find all over the place, but this is something real old-fashioned. Now, I want to show you one of my favorite pieces of crystal. Comes from East Germany. It's very unique. It's different. It's hand-cut, and you turn it around. Can you see through here the details? And there are grapes cut in, double glazed. It's a beautiful piece, very unusual.
Roncesvalles is known as the hub of the Polish community in Toronto. There are special parcel stores to send loved ones food and clothing in Poland. And this bronze statue of Pope John Paul in front of the Polish Credit Union reminds us of the love for freedom and the deeply religious nature of the Polish community. My favorite eating spot on Roncesvalles for Polish food is the Sir Nicholas restaurant.
Welcome to Sir Nicholas restaurant, our famous Polish restaurant. We do have a special luncheon buffet on. It's a salad bar, which is around 10 different salads, pâtés, cold cuts, fish, and there are famous pierogi, stuffed dumplings with cheese and potatoes, meat and sauerkraut. And there we have gołąbki, which are cabbage rolls.
Hey, you guys, leave some for me. Another Polish institution on Roncesvalles is Gronowska's Bakery. The Gronowska family has been serving its own special brand of baked goods and ice cream for over 28 years.
Hi, welcome to our store, Gronowska Specialties. We are very pleased to have you here. Our specialty is, as you see, cakes, and we are very proud of doing them every day fresh. They are coming from the oven to the customer. Also, specialty in this store is our ice cream, which are done on premises here, and we do them from whipped cream and fresh fruits, and they are very, very good. Please try them.
Now, the neighborhood I've shown you so far is, to put it mildly, too groovy for words. I mean, 400 acres of parkland surrounded by beautiful homes and a first-class shopping area. It's everything you could possibly want in a neighborhood. Not so fast, renovation breath, because in High Park, we also have the beach. People have always been drawn to the beach near the park. In fact, Toronto used to hold its annual Easter parade on the boardwalk near the foot of Parkside Drive. Those were the days. The area was called Sunnyside, after Sunnyside Villa, a house I built in 1848 near the foot of Roncesvalles Avenue. In 1911, the newly formed Toronto Harbor Commission undertook a massive reclamation and development project along the western beaches. 4 million cubic yards of fill was distributed along a 4-mile stretch of shoreline, creating an additional 330 acres of land. Restaurants and a bathing pavilion were built. A new boardwalk, amusement area, and dance halls were constructed. And on June 28, 1922, Sunnyside Beach and Amusement Park was officially opened. Sunnyside was a success from the day it started. It was the place to see and be seen. It became known as Toronto's Coney Island. For over 30 years, Sunnyside flourished, but in the 1950s, with dwindling crowds and the age of the auto, the Grand Lady by the Lake was demolished. to make way for the Gardner Expressway. The romance was no longer with Sunnyside, but with those new-fangled automobiles. Today, only two buildings remain, the Palais Royale and the Sunnyside Bathing Pavilion. Let's go down and have a look around. After years of neglect, the bathing pavilion has been restored to its former beauty as part of the city's redevelopment plan for the western beaches. The Palais Royale, still a dance hall, just like it's always been. These dragon lamps have stood guard over the entranceway as crowds of dancers have filled the hall for over 60 years. It's living nostalgia, from the spinning dance ball suspended high above the dance floor to the eerie blue Art Deco side lighting. The ghostly paintings on the wall take us back to a bygone era. Constructed in 1922, the Palais Royale originally housed a dance hall on the top floor and Walter Dean's boat building factory and livery on the bottom. Customers could rent Dean's famous Sunnyside torpedo canoe and paddle around the park's waterfront. Unfortunately, Mr. Dean went out of business and the Palais was taken over by Bill Cuthbert and George Deller. But why don't I let Mr. Deller's daughter, theatrical producer Marlene Smith, tell you the rest.
Everybody remembers it originally as Cuthbert and Deller, which it was. There was a fellow by the name of Bill Cuthbert who he and my father decided this was the perfect spot for a dance hall. Sunnyside was in full swing, of course, then. My father also did Guess Your Age and Guess Your Weight, so it kind of everything, you know, he never had to move territory. He was right here at all times. When I was in my early teens, I worked here behind the bar. There was still no liquor. I mean, there's no liquor license. So it was soft drinks, and everybody had their own bottle, of course. But one of the biggest thrills of my life, some fella handed me a $20 bill for a Coke, and I, of course, in this sea of people, I never found him again, and that was the most money I'd ever made. It was wonderful, one night. Both Dorseys played here, Gene Krupa, Frank Sinatra actually sang here. It was a really, you know, as the saying goes, a jumping joint.
The Palais is still a jumping joint, this time to the hot sounds of reggae music. I hope you enjoyed our tour of High Park. I know I did. But these old bones ain't what they used to be, so I'm gonna have to say goodnight. What's that, dear? I'll be along shortly. That was my wife, Jemima, so I better be going. See you in the park.